I'm burnt out. I've lived through it all, and I've built something for the fighters that refuse to stay down. If you're ready to stop playing small and own your story, then this is where you belong. The Unstoppable Network is where the overcoming stories are getting very loud. From veterans to survivors to trailblazers, sharing their story of turning their pain into power. Welcome to the Unstoppable Network, where we turn your mess into a message.
Hey, and welcome back to the Unstoppable Network. I don't know about you, but I just love that opening video. It's definitely gives me goosebumps when I see, especially the Phoenix Rising with the heartbeat, and that just really exemplifies what we do here at the Unstoppable Network. We take people that have had some incredible stories of overcoming and letting them rise from the ashes. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And I just wanted, this episode is sponsored by Cast Magic, and Cast Magic is for anybody out there that is either doing a podcast or is a coach. I absolutely love it. I wish I would have known about this at the beginning of my career. And so Cast Magic is AI based, but what it does is it takes your videos and your content, like your coaching content, things like that, and it gives you reels, it gives you show notes, it gives you different lessons for your students or your clients if you're a coach. So it's an absolutely amazing program. Here is the link to get that. It is an affiliate link, so but I absolutely love it. It cuts down at least 20 hours a month within my business. And since I am one person doing it all right now, I mean, that's a significant time back. So go check it out. I will put the link in the show notes as well. But total game changer. All righty. So I'm super excited because we do have a brand new amazing guest tonight. And Judy Micale, and amazing lady. She loves to empower individuals, teams, and organizations to embrace change from within. Whether you're a healthcare leader facing compassionate fatigue, a team navigating transition, or an organization striving for stronger communication and leadership alignment, we're here to guide your growth. With over 15 years of coaching experience, founder Judy combines strategic thinking, storytelling, and positive psychology to unlock potential and inspire lasting transformation. So, welcome to the show, Judy.
Thank you, Dorothy. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be here. Excited.
Welcome to the show. Absolutely. I love it, love it, love it. So tell us a little bit about who Judy is. What would you say would be your overcoming unstoppable story?
I would say I've been a coach for 15 years. When I started my coaching 15 years ago, I was in the process of being a caregiver for my mother as well. So I was literally going to hospital and doctor visits with her because she was undergoing, she suddenly started having heart problems. All of these things were happening, and I was taking courses to become a coach, and I was going through all of this, and I was working full-time still. So I was juggling being a caregiver, working full-time, and trying to get the education that I needed to be a qualified coach. And it was an interesting time. I joke and say, as caregivers, we have a tendency to be able to juggle a lot of balls in the air, and we're not even aware that we're juggling all of these things. We just do it. And when it finally, about 10 years in
Yeah.
I took care of her for 10 years at my house. She moved in with me. And I joke and say I inherited 2 old people and a dog because my stepdad moved in as well. And so I had all of this going on. And finally, my full-time job that I was doing kind of just graduated out. And so I was doing coaching full-time at that point. And I would say that it was probably about 2 years after my mom passed, and she passed in 2020. So I'm in 2025 now. And it was about 2 years after my mother passed, and I was in the throes of coaching. I was doing at least 21 to 25 calls a week with people, which is a lot when you think about it, coaching calls. I sat down one day and I just kind of like took a breath. And I realized I had been on high speed, trauma-based without even knowing it. And here I was, a certified compassion fatigue educator. I have a strong background in behavioral health, but we don't see our own stuff. You know, we put the blinders on and we just plow through. And I think that was my biggest aha, is when I started really deep diving into mindfulness. And right after my mom passed, I had done a week-long silent retreat, but it was during COVID, so it was in my house. And everybody around the world was on these calls, but it was a silent retreat, but everybody was in their own homes. And it was the weirdest feeling. But I also discovered how I used things to escape, so I didn't have to think about. Because when you're on a silent retreat, you can't watch TV. You don't read books. They even ask you not to journal, because then you're still outside of yourself. You're putting thoughts down. You're not really just sitting with yourself. And that was the aha. That was like, wow, I use a lot in my house just to escape. Turn the TV on, turn music on. The dogs were even quiet the whole time, which was a miracle in and of itself. It was just, I was really surprised at how we can use.
How do you get the dogs to stay silent? Like, seriously.
I don't know. It was a miracle. They must have known it was a silent retreat. Very little barking. They would just go to the door if they had to go outside. I was like, you never do this. So yeah, it was wild. And
can you sign me up for that? Like, seriously.
Go ahead. I missed that.
No, I was just going to say, sign me up for that. I just said, sign me up for that, like a silent retreat where there's nothing and no one. Like, that would be amazing. Oh,
it really was. It was very healing.
I don't even know what that would be like. My cortisol level will go down.
It would. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
okay.
amazing.
So then you. Right. So as a caregiver, I completely understand. I understand that caregiving is not for the faint of heart. That is for sure. And we do go through a lot of emotions. And I think as we're going through it, it's just like we don't even think about it. We put one foot in front of the other. Was that your experience in caregiving with your mom and your stepdad?
Yeah, definitely. You just did what you needed to do to get it done. And one thing I did do, because I had done so much work with other providers around compassion fatigue, there were 3 rules that I had. When I was coaching, I would block my calendar for 11:30 to 1 o'clock, and I called that mama time. That was when, if she wanted to go to lunch, which she did every single day, she wanted to go somewhere for lunch. So that was her time. But then when she went to bed, and as they age and they're in their 80s and 90s, they'll go to bed a little bit earlier. So she would go to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock, as she put it. I want to go stretch. So I built in a window of like 8:30 to 10 o'clock of my downtime, my quiet time. And that meant no TV, just kind of relaxing and tuning in and listening to what my soul was saying so that I could regenerate for the next day. Even as an introvert, I do that when I do trainings. I'll go and I'll say, it's nothing against you. If they want to take me out to dinner at the end, I'd rather go up to my room and just relax and order dinner in, because then I can recharge for them the next day. And that's what an introvert is. It's just how you recharge. You need that quiet and downtime. Where an extrovert would recharge by going out to dinner. That would make them feel better and alive. But what I've discovered through her process was, even as a caregiver, and especially as a coach working with CEOs, type A personalities, and all of those pieces of the puzzle, it's important for us to model the behaviors for others as a coach, especially for me. It's when I tell people that I practice mindfulness, it doesn't mean I sit here and go, for 20 minutes. That's not it. It's taking a breath and coming back in and focusing on where I am in this moment. And I've had two beautiful mentors on this journey. One who studied actually with the Dalai Lama, and he's fabulous. And his thing was, he brought in 4 breaths. And it was a practice. Actually, he said 3. I added the 4th because I realized I needed the 4th. But it's stopping whatever you're doing and taking a deep breath. Second breath is pausing the monkey brain, where we jump from one thought to the next, to the next, to the next, and take a breath. The third one I added was honor the breath, because as caregivers, we're in chaos and crisis a lot. And 2 ways that we as humans handle it, we either hold our breath or we do shallow breathing to the point where we could almost pass out because we're not getting a full breath. So the third one is taking and honoring the breath and just taking it in and letting it go. And then the fourth one is receive. So you take it in. Where am I still feeling stress and pressure? And then I say, take in your breath. And then on that release, push out as much as you can of that stress and just let it go. And then you can reboot. So that's what this beautiful mentor taught me. While I was doing the silent retreat, the other mentor told me, and I will remember this until I'm gone from this planet. If we don't refill our own well on a regular basis to almost overflowing, how are we able to truly then care for anybody else? That resonated with me, but I turned it into a gas gauge. So we have to have it full, especially when I live in Florida. So if you don't have a full tank during hurricane season, get it. You know, that's one of those must-haves. You must have a full tank of gas so that you can escape if you need to.
Yeah.
But a full tank is where we should be when we're a leader, when we're a caregiver, when we have a team, when we have anybody in our lives that we're caring for. We need to be able to make sure that we're refilling our tank. So one of my questions usually is, where are you on that gas gauge? And how can you refuel even to get yourself to, if you're down to on fumes, let's get you to a quarter of a tank. If you're at a quarter of a tank, let's get you to half point and keep working until we get you up to full.
Mm. Mm. You know, I love that. And I know you and I had talked like in the pre-interview where I don't know if I shared this, but excuse me, it always, like I was always on. Like my parents were growing up, they were not well. And then, you know, into adulthood, like my dad had his first stroke at 30. And then from there it went to switch to he had heart problems. And then from there, it was like degenerative disc and nerve on nerve damage and living in chronic constant pain. And then my mom going undiagnosed with lupus, angina, you name it, they had it. And so just being in that constant state of worry and caregiving mode, and the, being caregiver for my grandmother and watching my dad die of cancer, it's like, really, there hasn't been a moment in my life where I don't think that I wasn't on. In the, you know, these last couple of years, it's taken, now I'm aware of it, and I just thought that's what life was. I had no idea that life should be differently, if that makes sense. And I always thought that that was just how life was, and never knew that, wait a minute, you know, self-care is needed to get through this. And I think the first time that, like when my dad got cancer, that was the first time I had seen a social worker, and her first question was, "What is your self-care like?" And I laughed at her, like, seriously, I'm planning a wedding. My hero just got cancer. I work for a high stress company. We're always on the go. Like, there is no time. And she says, "Well, if you don't make time, you'll be dead before your dad." And so that's what got me and started the process of, oh, I can take a deep breath. And it's funny. I went to a heart institution and they said, you know, take deep breaths. And he goes, "You're not breathing from your diaphragm, you're surface breathing. That's all you're doing. Can you not breathe from your diaphragm?" And I'm just like, I thought I was, right? So it's just like, it's amazing what, as humans, what we have to do. You know, we're in survival mode for so long, and then when we don't have to be, it's just like, you don't know how to shut that off, right? It's like, I remember, this was back in a couple of years ago, I would have to sit on my hands just to stop. One that just can't relax. I have, like, I don't know. But it was intense. And so, you know, I love what you're doing, because it helps those people that have no idea that life, you know, you can take a pause in life. It doesn't have to be full swing all the time.
Well, one of the things that I work with my leaders on, that an executive.
So what's a moment in your life where that nearly broke you, but ultimately rebuilt you?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say for that question, I've never been broke. I mean, broken. I've had moments in my life where I've come to a crossroads, and I've looked at it as a learning moment. So I've had several of those in my life. I packed up and moved to Florida from Pennsylvania, and I literally was given 3 weeks to pack up and move to my new job. I had interviewed for this job because my mom and my stepdad had moved down to Florida permanently, and I knew I was going to be their caregiver, and I didn't have to want to worry about trying to get a plane from Pennsylvania, because we all know snow, horrible, sometimes 12 hours on a plane just to get down. I wanted to be closer. So I had interviewed for a job, and all of a sudden I got a phone call and said, "Oh, by the way, we need you in 3 weeks." And I hadn't been down here to find a house or anything. I literally found my apartment online. I sold most of my stuff. I was the lightest load on the moving company's truck. They had 3 different loads. I was the lightest one. He was like, "Oh, wow, we've never had anybody this light before." I had a dining room table, 2 chairs, my dishes, and a chair that I loved that I brought down with me, and that was it. I didn't have a bed. I didn't have a couch. I didn't have anything. And I came down to Florida, sight unseen, signed a lease to an apartment, walked into the apartment and went, I guess this is my home now. And had a sleeping bag and my cat. At that time I had a cat. And it made me so strong to realize that my aha came was, no matter where I go, I take me with me. So if I don't like myself or love myself, no one else will. I have to be strong enough to be able to say that I like myself and I love myself. And that was like the biggest transition in my life. I didn't know a soul in Tallahassee where I moved to, other than the two people that interviewed me for my job. I walked into this place and they were like, oh, you're starting today. They had even forgotten that they had given me a deadline. So it was like a whole different world for me. From Pennsylvania to move to Tallahassee, which is very close to the Georgia borderline. So there's a whole different culture here than what I grew up with. It was very interesting, and it didn't break me, but it definitely gave me some thought. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. You know, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. I think we just, we're stronger than we think. And then when we're in those situations, those are the defining moments of our lives where we rebuilt, like you said, rebuilt it. And that would be a big move. Pennsylvania to Florida. I mean, that's massive. That's not just moving from, one town to the next. So kudos for you for doing that. Congratulations. And I'm sure anybody that's listening right now, or they're in a similar situation and thinking, oh, I can't do this. Well, Judy's proof that yes, you can. You could do anything you set your mind to. And sometimes I think our minds are our greatest, they're our greatest weapon, but they're also our greatest mass destruction. Right? Because you could have talked yourself. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were saying about how you like to help. Yeah. So I guess my next question is, what lie did you have to stop telling yourself to finally grow?
I think for me, it was more about reframing my own mindset of because there were moments when I had breakdowns. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're human. We're going to have those breakdowns. But mine is always about, how can I reframe this? How can I, what are the moments of gratitude for myself? If I practice gratitude for at least 20 years now. And one of my practices is sharing gratitude with others and really letting them know how much I do appreciate them. Even on my tagline of my emails, it's always deep bow of appreciation, because I really want individuals to know that I truly do live and breathe gratitude. Whenever I'm down or whenever I've hit, and even recently in the last couple of weeks, I would say there's been moments where I've hit these, because I'm shifting and building my private practice and leaning away from a company that I had been coaching with a lot. And it's just naturally happening in that way. But there's been moments when it's happened and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Why am I doing this to myself? But then I stop and think, what do I have? I have a roof over my head. I have the ability to turn on water and brush my teeth, and I don't have to worry about the quality of the water. where if you drive an hour away from me right now, the town is under a water emergency because they're having difficulties with it. That is something that you don't think of. You know, during hurricane season, you're always thinking, make sure you have fresh water, make sure you have those, you know, fill your tub up. So I always think about things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the fact that I have a little puppy who's a little devil, who is literally laying down next to me very quietly right now. But as soon as I'm done, she'll know that I'm done and she'll want to play, and she makes me laugh. I'm grateful for friends that I can reach out to and say, hey, you know, I'm in a place right now where I just need somebody to listen. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to solve it. I just need you to listen to me, because I listen to everybody else. So who do I go to? You know, that type of a thing. And the other piece I'm grateful for is the fact that I do work with leaders that are really cool and executives who are so cool about the fact that they want to grow as well. And I'm grateful for those individuals that come into my life, because I get the opportunity to just ask questions for them and ask them and see the light bulb moments for themselves go off, including, you know, when was the last time you actually built in reflection? Whether it's once a week or whether it's once a day for 10 minutes that you do some brief reflection. What did I do well? What am I carrying forward? What did I learn? And asking those kinds of questions each day to yourself, you grow as a person. And so I'm just grateful for the fact that I have a gratitude practice and that I do it I can't go to sleep that night without saying 3 things I'm grateful for. And that includes the moments of joy that I might have had throughout the day. Sometimes they're brief. Trust me, they can be really brief. But sometimes they're really like, I did not have any pain, which is a huge thing for us. You know, when you think about it, when somebody has pain and all of a sudden they don't have pain, it's like, oh, what happened there? It's gone. I'm doing something right. Or I'm grateful for the fact that I have electricity. Mm-hmm. So I think practicing gratitude is huge. And I use that a lot with the individuals that I work with. I ask them to start thinking about, we start off small, maybe just one thing at a time, and end your day with gratitude. Studies have shown if you close your day with gratitude, you actually get 30 minutes more of sleep. And it helps with exercise. It helps students. They've done a lot of studies on students that actually started practicing gratitude. Their grades improve. So it's really wild that there's a science that backs it up. And I do training around gratitude and the science behind it. So it's been around for a long time, and I've practiced it for 20 years, and I just love every moment of it.
I love that. I love that. If your younger self could see you now, what would she say?
Oh, you actually are doing what you said you wanted to do. That's what she would say. When I was younger, I always wanted to write. I write. When I was younger, I always wanted to paint. I paint. You can see all the paintings behind me. Those are paintings I've done. I've always wanted to be of service to others. I come from a long line of service workers. My grandmother was a nurse who worked till she was 75 years old in the hospitals. My mother started out in nursing. I started out in nursing. And so there's that whole piece of being of service to others. But I also see the results from what I do. And that's what I would tell my younger self is keep on plugging. You're going to have moments, but it all works out. Yeah. You can see the tears coming there.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. I don't speak to too many people that have completely fulfilled what they wanted to do in life, right? So that's awesome. I'm sure there's more, and you probably add more to your bucket list every day, but to say and live and say, hey, you know, I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. That is massive. Kudos to you, Judy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Each chapter built upon the next, too.
So let's, so you said you write, so are you an author as well?
Yeah. I only have one journal book out, and it is for caregivers, 31 Daily Inspirations for Caregivers. Yeah. I'm writing my second one right now.
And where could they find that if they wanted to get a copy?
Oh, they would go on to Amazon. It is on Amazon. They do have it on Amazon.
That's okay, though.
Yeah.
Perfect. So go check that out. Yeah. You were speaking about that in the pre-interview, where you to put your thoughts into place, especially where you're caregiving for somebody else, and what the copious appointments that somebody that is going through something has, and to have it all in one place. You really did a service there to people that are going through those things in life.
Yeah, that's why I created that journal book. It was because when I was taking care of my mom, I used to joke and say that the doctors would look at me because I'd have a book that I would read for pleasure, and I would have the notebook to make sure that I was taking the notes that they were telling me of things that had to be done. And then sometimes I just wanted to, journal my own thoughts around what is going on, how am I feeling in this moment. And so when I designed this journal book for caregivers, and it's, again, 31 Daily Inspirations for Caregivers, 1 day, 1 breath, 1 step at a time, that was my reminder to myself to live that. Take it 1 day, 1 breath, 1 step at a time. And when I wrote the book, I made sure that it has like an inspirational quote that I just pulled out of the air. Who knows where it came from? But then I would give them an exercise if they weren't sure how to journal, where you could just say, take a moment today and think about who are the angels in your life. We all have angels that pop in. And that was one that was entitled Angels. And so who are those individuals? It happened to be a lot of times, the individuals that were the caregivers for my mom, who were the nurses. They would come in and just look at me and say, go get coffee, type thing to me, just because they saw that I'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And just get out of here and go get coffee and come back, and then I would leave 3 pages in that journal so that others that buy it can actually jot down. And I've had people reach out to me and say that's what they used it for. They had been so overwhelmed with the doctors coming in or the nurses coming in, and everybody was telling them different things, and they were lost. And so they just started jotting down notes, or they were shifting caregivers coming through. So maybe it was a son and a daughter and, another daughter coming in to take care of mom. They would jot down notes so that the others, when they picked it up, they could look at it and say, oh, the doctor was in at this time and he said this. So it helped them stay on track of that person's care.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So definitely part of an amazing legacy that you're leaving for others, that have gone through or going through the same similar thing. So I love that. What's your favorite failure?
My favorite failure. I think I'm going through it right now. I really think I'm going through it right now. I knew that I wanted to build up my private practice, and I won't say I failed, because I don't believe in failure. I believe in growth moments. This is my growth moment. If I were to ever go back during this time that I'm going through right now, I would have built in more of a buffer than I have at this moment. So, for example, I had decided that, about probably 6 months ago, that I was wanting to wean off of this one platform. I love the platform. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful platform. But I was also realizing I was getting burnt out from doing 21 to 25 calls a week. So I knew I wanted to build up more group and team coaching and work more with leaders and executives and individuals that might be in a transition in some way, shape, or form. I knew that's where I wanted to go. I neglected to build in those pieces until this started to deplete. And I kept telling myself it's because I don't have enough energy. But the reality of it was I was in that process, I almost like a cocoon of trying to figure out, where is it that I want to go next? What is it that I want it to look like? And so I'm building it as I speak to you today, and think if I had thought it out a little bit more, I could have done a better planning process through that. And that's okay, because it's a great learning experience and there's going to be pain points along the way with that. But in the same aspect, I'm still building it and people are coming. So I just have to have that faith that it will continue to evolve and grow into where I need to go next. And that's the beauty of my life. I've never looked for a job. I know that sounds strange, but I've never looked for a job. From the time I started college until now, it's just evolved into the next page. A door would open and I'd be like, oh, let me walk through and see what happens here. and that's how I've always just done it. Let the next door open and I walk through. I think this is the most I would say this moment in time in my life, this is the most that I have walked out on faith than ever before. Because I knew when I was leaving one job for another, I was always there was that buffer of, I'm still going to have pay coming in. I'm still going to have, automatic, I'm not going to have to worry. I know that there's pay coming in. I think this is the biggest leap of faith that I've ever taken in this coaching part, this piece of my coaching, where it's more about, okay, I know that people are coming to me. I know that I've got good programs. And it is happening and it is evolving and growing, but it's also, there's those scary moments because, it's when you work with somebody who's in a startup. When I've done coaching with people in startups, they're kind of in the same mode of oh Lord, are we going to be able to do this? Type thing. And it's just sitting back and trusting and allowing. There is a rhyme and a reason why the door's there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. I love that. I think faith is a huge part of our journey, right? And so just believing and having faith that everything's going to work out, and it always does. And sometimes it's not how we picture it's going to look like, but it's 10 times better than what you even imagined in the end.
Yeah. I hindsight is 20/20. They always joke about that.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to ask Judy, so what is, who would you say that your target client would be in this moment right now for your coaching program? You're absolutely
my foam at the mouth person to work with in this point in time is anybody who is transitioning into something new and really just needs somebody to help them set those goals and move forward. I love working with teams. I love working with leaders and their teams. I just finished working with a team where they're completely designing a whole new piece in their company. And so there's all of those, oh gosh, what do we need to do? So working with them on strategy, and then talking about how are you doing the education pieces? What are you doing to let the company know where you're going in those directions? And I love that. It's just a beautiful thing. I've worked with veterans who are leaving the armed forces and retiring, quote unquote, and going into the next chapter, but they have no idea what that next chapter is. And I love working with them because that means that they get to explore and see what's next for themselves, and look at all of the tools that they already have under their belt and how can they be applied in a different environment. And that's really what I do. I work with people around change. I work and I joke and say there's no management of change. It's truly stages of change. And there's two different models that I go off of. And one is Dee Clementa and Prochaska, who does a full thing around, pre-contemplation, contemplation, and all that stuff. And then there's another one that I absolutely love and adore. And it's the one where you start with every beginning, there's an ending. And with every ending, there's a beginning. And then in between, there's that neutral zone. And that neutral zone, how I describe it, is that leap of faith that a trapeze artist would take, letting go and knowing that the other trapeze is there, the other bar is there for them to hold on to, or that other person is there that they can grab a hold of. And that's that in between. And that's that part where coaching can come in and be that those hands to help you get through that transition that's happening in your life. And that's what I really love doing, whether it's with a company, whether it's with a team, or whether it's with an individual. And I've got a few different programs that I'm launching right now. One is around journal writing, and it talks about doing that reflection and looking at what the next steps are. There's one that I'm launching in September of this year, and I'll be doing it on a rotating basis every 3 months. And it's called Renew You. And it's taking an individual from day one and setting down some goals and walking them through the steps of how to get there. Because if we have these big, audacious goals out here, that's great that we have that, but how do we get there? And that's what a coach can do, and that's what I do. I walk it backwards with you so that we chunk it down so you don't have overwhelm freeze. You just take it one day, one step, one breath at a time.
Love that. I love that. So there we go, folks. If you are that individual that Judy just mentioned, please connect with Judy. Her website is scrolling across the bottom, and I will have it in the show notes as well. Judy, you just blow my mind here. This has definitely been an incredible interview. I have one last question. What legacy are you building, and how do you want to be remembered?
Legacy for me is about the stories people tell about you when you're no longer here. I want to be able to build some great stories that people can share when they say, you remember Judy, and then whatever that is. Yeah, tears on that one too.
Love it. Well, I didn't mean to make you cry, but I mean, I really realized that in the 4 years that I've been doing this, that this is all like a legacy building thing that we're doing. We want to change people's lives. We want to know that, hey, we gave hope back to people because we know what it's like to be in those dark moments in life. They happen to everybody. And, you could be going through your darkest time and just know that these stories that we have on this network are just ordinary people just doing extraordinary things, right? And just turning their pain into power and never giving up. That is the the main focus of what we do, and why we have people on here, because we can have similar stories, but we each touch each person or individual in a different way. So I thank you so much for you. And any last words uh, from our guest before we wrap this up?
I just want to thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit and really to share my passion. You can see I'm truly authentic with what I do. And this is who I am as a coach. This is how I approach people. I deal with you as a whole person as a coach because I've never met a piece of a pie. So when you come to me, know that I'm going to be talking to you about personal as well as professional, because they both affect each other. And so that is my big thing. Is I always tell people, you are a whole person, and I'm going to approach you as a whole person. So thank you for the opportunity.
Do you want people to connect with
They can
you on your website, or is there anywhere else that you'd like to connect with you at?
The website is fine. There's a contact where they can set up a quick consult call for 15 minutes with me. There's a little button on there that they can find that on the website. It's real easy to do, and I'd be happy to chat with anybody. So thank you. Deep breath.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And speaking of legacy, folks, we have August 9th. So registration's open now, and it's open till July 20th. It is $400 a day of remembering those that we have lost of cancer, and it is a day of we added a $10,000 hole-in-one prize for amateurs that get it in hole-in-one of I think it's the 16th hole. So definitely bigger, better this year. And, we put our heart and soul into this. We of 2020, either 21 or 22. Anyways, it's been 4 years. And because we realize it's not just about our father, that it's about everybody that has lost their battle with cancer. So what we're doing, I saw a quote about a month ago that says, we die twice, our last breath and the last time somebody speaks our name. And so our legacy is making sure that your legacy is always continually going with the wall that we're adding this year, because anybody that comes to the tournament can bring a picture of their loved one with their loved one's name on it, and we will make sure that their name is spoken forever. So we're looking for golfers. We're looking for sponsors still. It's a great way to give back. The monies that we raise, the proceeds will be going to the local hospital, a patient care assist program. So it's going back into the community, into those hands and those patients that, maybe there's some medical supplies that are not being covered by OHIP, or, I believe going back into the community. So every dollar counts. And it takes $1,000. We were able to help just over 2 families. So this year I want to help. Well, I want to help 10 families is what I want, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So for more details on that, just give us a call here, or definitely email me at gramdorothy408@gmail.com. We would love to have you at this year's event, or simply comment wherever you're listening. So much, Judy, for being on the show. I truly appreciate you. And remember, guys, be unstoppable in all that you do. And same time, same channel next week. And subscribe to our channel, The Unstoppable